crypto assets. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best.
Welcome in to Discover Crypto in the Blockchain Basement. We have BNB meme season taking the spotlight. Overnight, massive amounts of money made in the Binance ecosystem, giving Solana meme trenchers, you know, those layer ones, some of that FOMO. Where's the pump? We're going to take a look at a lot of these charts. We also have BlackRock coming out. They seem to know what is coming for some major additions coming to some of their pretty key products in the RWA and tokenized industries. And also Swift announcing their very own blockchain ledger as a plan. This is a pretty cool moment in time where we're looking at the front and center players in the epicenter of a literal overhaul of money as we know it. I'm pretty damn excited about it, and I hope you are too. Welcome to the show. We are pumping right now. Obviously, if you're in the trading Discord, you saw John re-highlight the Bitcoin long, and boy howdy, we are feeling it right now. Boy howdy, we're feeling great. So maybe we cut this, and let me know in the chat, what was the last crypto project, whatever you want to call it, coin, ticker that you bought? I want to know what y'all are buying out there. There's a lot of uncertainty in the markets right now. Obviously we have the FOMC minutes that just dropped, probably causing some of the pump, which feels good. Don't get me wrong. They feel good. The pump feels good, but you know what? We got to take profits along the way. I don't want to live in a realm where I'm getting ahead of myself and there's just an up only. I'm getting married to all of these altcoins because they're all going to be, the next big thing, right? That FOMO is going to take hold of many, many people. I am advising myself against that FOMO. Only married to Bitcoin. Slightly long-term dating chain link, though. There's a couple reasons why I'll be going over here on the show tier today. So let's get into it. Bringing up all the chats. Good afternoon, Jay Davis. That guy, Kenny Corral or Carneal. Good to see you here. And now let's see those minutes. Let's see if they just dropped. Let's see. Bam. Okay, so we got some updates. FOMC minutes. Most Fed officials said to ease policy more into 2025. September FOMC minute highlights here from Nick Timraos. Most judged that it likely would appreciate to ease policy further over the remainder of this year. Also of note, the minutes indicate that there have been more support for no cut than for a half-point cut. So people would rather have no cut than a major emergency half-point cut within the Federal Reserve, which is worth noting. And noting that nothing indicated near-term urgency to change balance sheet runoff. Interesting time frames being laid out there. They're trying to act hard on one side with the balance sheet, adding to the balance sheet, not looking to do that. They're open to these 25 base point cuts through the remainder of the year. Give me a little bit of breadth for risk assets. You know what? I'm going to raise the stop loss on this. And shout out to John Dalton. Absolute, just the best, one of the best traders out there. So huge shout out to him. Very busy this morning. Got a good trade in just from being part of that Discord. We do have a link in the description if you want to get those trade updates. And this is the moment. This is the chart I was going over on the Arena AVAX SocialFi ecosystem earlier this morning. This is the vibe. And I'm keeping the hair. I don't care what you think. You know what? I'd say to people, I don't like your mullet. I don't like your voice. I could have an opinion too. And if you're watching the show, thank you so much. And if you're not watching the show, you disgust me. Now let's look at the rest of the markets here on CoinMarketCap, see how things are doing. Bam. Bitcoin, 123.8. That's great. Or it's coming out a little bit hotter than that. Well, let's see. 123.79. Okay, so pretty close. Ethereum, 4,500. This is where a little bit of stumbling's going on as BNB, number 3 now. Let's see here. I mean, this is nuts. This is absolutely You know what? Touche. Okay, touche. It's amazing to see the rest of the market. It's like, and then BNB just whoop, up and to the right. Absolutely crazy. Holy cow. Now, the BNB ecosystem, the memes on it are really pumping as well. I'm not going to get head over heels FOMO right now. They've already, here's the deal. Okay, we got to talk about this. We have to talk about it. So we have BNB season happening right now in front of our eyes. And I think that this is the larger kind of epicenter of where alt season really starts to occur. If you were around last cycle, you saw a very similar type of movement, right? A lot of hype, a lot of juice just comes out of nowhere to BNB and it just goes ballistic. As BNB meme season begins, 70% off the cuff of these meme traders are in profits right now. Do you know what happens next? Do you know what happens next? People marrying bags, dumps, right? So I'm not out there chasing green candles, but the overall flow of how this market is going is really making me quite comfortable for where we're at right now, because we've had a lot of all-time highs really either hit and slightly past, like Ethereum in the 5,000 mark, or BNB, which well surpassed its all-time high. Bitcoin well surpassed its all-time high. XRP is like barely over that all-time high, just kind of like Ethereum, but it is losing ground in terms of being no longer the number 3rd largest market cap, is now number 4 if you exclude Tether, technically number 5 if you're including stablecoins, right? So this is just a flow. This is a healthy flow of hitting all-time highs here. Then you start to see it bleed down the ladder and it'll flow down the ladder. Bitcoin will have a little, and this is the whole argument right now is it up only for Bitcoin, from here on out? And there's a lot of this time is systemically different. And there's a lot of talking points that can point to this time being different on a regulatory standpoint, on the amount of money that is flowing in and out of these ETF products, right? There are some things that are different, but the 4-year cycle remains. The physics behind Bitcoin and its pairing to electricity cost is something that actually might help bolster my thesis that the downside for Bitcoin is going to get less and less. And we're going to look at that news and that statistic today. I think it held up pretty good when we fell down to $15,000 per Bitcoin and everyone was on the sidelines waiting for lower lows. Now, we got to look at something absolutely crazy here. Gold again, gold and silver, the death of fiat money. This is posted from Zero Hedge. And Peter Schiff, he made an appearance. Peter Schiff had to flex. Whoa, Peter, calm down, Peter. He was out there flexing on it. Peter Schiff is feeling pretty good. The silver bugs are feeling pretty good right now. But I think a really, really interesting play that's been on my mind for some time is palladium. And looking at it, palladium spot, prices surged 6% on the day as gold hit $4,000 an ounce. Silver hit the highest level since 2011. Current run in precious metals will be studied for decades to come. Now, precious metals going the way that they are, it's showing that the wheels are coming off the freight train that is modern monetary theory. The Federal Reserve can talk about their little plans all they want, but there's still the green monster in the background. This is not Apple or Tesla or Nvidia's graph for their value. This is the U.S. national debt coming in right around $36.2 trillion as things sit right now. And what we're looking forward to, over the next 6 months is 2 more massive spending bills to go through, right? 2 more massive spending bills to go through. Like even with just the big, beautiful bill, we're going over 40. The amount of injections, and the problem is these injections are likely not going to land in the hands of the average person or, to be crypto enthusiast, right? They're injections into banks, into larger markets to bolster up their longevity. So, there's a reason why gold, why Bitcoin, why all of these assets are going to all-time highs is because the money is broken. The money is absolutely broken right now. So let's look at the context of where I wanted to roll with this is I just showed you a very big list, honestly, in my opinion, of huge market cap projects that are hitting all-time highs. Bitcoin, Ethereum, You have BNB. These are not small projects. XRP is not a small project. It's a nearly $200 billion market cap. But the sentiment and how the average person feels in interest of Bitcoin is waning, right? This graph of interest just chunking down, lower highs all the way down. Kind of, you can have the one argument that maybe people already kind of get what Bitcoin is and there's no searching for it. I really kind of don't feel that that's the case personally, because, there's a lot of people that are involved in crypto. I do inquire with a lot of people in IRL to see if they know about crypto, if they've ever learned about it. And it is a very minimal engagement level, right? I can definitely say that. So that graph paired with this stair step up and to the right with washouts along the way, it's almost like an inverse, right? This is a institutionally controlled step up into the right. And now with the searches being this way, with that graph showing you the same thing, still Bitcoin dominance is fighting back and Benjamin Cowan is taking his lap. Now, I want to know from you in the chat, is Bitcoin dominance going back up from here and is altcoin season over? Is this reversal on Bitcoin dominance the end of alt season? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I want to get your sentiment. I want to know where your head's at right now. We are going into the end of this year. Things are going to start moving very, very quickly in terms of, the holidays, all of those things. They take control of your attention. And all of a sudden you have, a month of up only action. You forget to take profits. And then I'm surrounded by a bunch of round trippers. Don't be that way. Don't be that way. We're going to pay attention this end of the year here. A lot of twos. I like it. Let's go check out the Bitcoin dominance level. Okay. BTC.D. Now this, it's too wide of a time frame. We'll go down to the weekly. Oh, baby. All right. And I kind of drew out my expectations here for you. Right here. So we set this up, I think, a few weeks ago. I'm feeling like this zone 55 is probably going to be the next turbulent zone where Bitcoin can fight back. But I am of the opinion, I took a stance against Benjamin Cowan. I say no. I say we roll over, we come back up, fake out, back down, and then we find some resistance here at 44.5%, roughly. That's what my rough feeling of where the markets are right now. And this would actually set up for a head and shoulders, right? This would actually set up for a beautiful head and shoulders. Let's actually take a look at that. That's something we're just noticing right here live. I have not seen this yet. A little head and shoulder action here. Let's check it out. Bam. We'll go conservative levels. Go to the more side of the head and shoulder. I don't know. Oh, yeah. All right. We're sticking to it. The target would be that 50% line right from there. Woo, boy. Oh, boy. Absolutely great. So let's check out the chat. Zero. I know what zero stands for. America, Faith. Phillips 2. Let's check it out. After 6 years, I took the top off my Bitcoin only to buy more when it dumps. Oh. There you go. Good to see you, Nick Dunn. Good to see you. Yeah, this is what I'm feeling is going to happen to Bitcoin dominant. I feel that the eventual path leads to 50%. I do feel that alts will have their moments. And there's a lot of reasons why. There's a lot of actually pretty huge things that are happening. Thanks for the super chat. I have a lot of thoughts on RWAs during this show, actually, where I really feel like the RWA and internet capital markets are something that are talked about, but they're not differentiated on what is what it actually means. So we can actually make sense of these things, make the right decisions. When we see some hot new product out there, that everyone's seeming to talk you into, we're going to kind of dissect that and really dig into what it actually means, right? Let's check in on this. So this was part of the dump yesterday. OG Bitcoin whale just deposited, and this is yesterday, $364 million worth of Bitcoin to Hyperliquid, right? Huge amount. sold 39 million of it, 39.3, and still has a lot of Bitcoin to sell. For those that aren't aware, the last time this whale started selling, Bitcoin dropped nearly $9,000. So a major, major pullback happened the last time we saw activity from a whale of this size. It must be taking note of, right? Must be taking note of. Now, baseline cost of Bitcoin, you know, people can argue about fractals, and I can argue about all that stuff too. But this is something that I think bolsters up the baseline cost of Bitcoin. Now, this is the US electricity price in terms of its increase since 2020, right? So we're talking about what is the velocity of increase of cost of electricity, the baseline, you know, outside of hardware and the software and the network of Bitcoin, the electricity that actually goes into the machines, the electricity that powers the nation. Where has it increased and how bad? Look at California. Oh my God. 63.9%. Californians will pay 70% more. That is insane. That is insane. 67. And New York will pay 67% more. This is some serious increase. Here in Georgia, we've had 33% increase, but you know, the cost to mine Bitcoin, it's going to be bolstered up, in my opinion, over the long term by the cost of electricity. Now, if there is a moment where we find renewable electricity that is very, very cheap to produce, and they actually get their head out of the sand and go after, you know, fusion or fission or some form of nuclear energy and bring that back, then we'll have to look at this and see if this still holsters. But the engine of electricity as it sits right now is still largely the same. We don't have the nuclear power plants. They talked about them happening. Oh, live. Hark, you are so banned.
You are banned!
Holy God, you are so banned. There we go. Unbelievable. Okay. Now, Jack Dorsey Square introduces a Bitcoin wallet solution to enable local businesses to accept Bitcoin payments with no fees. For the love of God, please do not give Jack Dorsey your Bitcoin. Okay. Hold your Bitcoin. The technological elites have enough Bitcoin. I would say Bitcoin is a very powerful tool to rise up out of what, in my opinion, is going to be a digital subservient class of human in the United States and beyond across the world. Bitcoin is a way to fight back and hold your buying power, retain it for the long term. And I'm honestly looking forward to a boring season for Bitcoin. I literally am. You know what I mean? That's where the awesome entry points come. Right now, I look at these new projects and I just got to make sure that they're generally reasonable, that they have a utility that can be plugged in, and if there's enough juice behind the narrative and they're plugging at the right time, right? And the window is closing. The window is closing. We're going to see a lot of projects release at bad times and they'll go to zero. You know, happened last time too. All right, let's check this out. Let's check this out. In Iran, you can mine one for $1,300. David, this is a great comment. We got to talk about this. This is a great, great comment. Where is your, there it is. So this was an interesting thing that I learned is when there was a massive conflict, right, in Iran, and they did have large amounts of power outages and power production shutdowns and things of that nature. Coincidentally, the hash rate for Bitcoin dropped by 30%. And there is no direct connection, right? But there are clear reports that Iran has been mining Bitcoin since at least 2019. I think it goes back to verifications going back to 2017, right? Maybe that giant bag, this bag, is Iran. Chat, is this Iran? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Is Iran ready to ruin the Bitcoin bull market? Oh my God, did we just start a conspiracy live on the show? Oh. Hot. 1, if it's Iran. 2, if it's not Iran. that's dumping low key in the background there. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Switzerland, about 350,000 to 400,000 per Bitcoin as well. See, and that's where the cheap energy, it's gonna win out in terms of hash power, right? It's gonna win out in terms of hash power. And let's show your comments here. Let's show your comments. One. We got a lot of ones, a little two, a one, a one. Oh Lord. One or two. All right, good choice, lasers go pew pew. Good choice, lasers go pew pew. Now, yes, it's wishy and washy and all over the damn place in terms of price action right now. But these are some great words from Follis. And he's looking generally at this W pattern in the same way that I am. It's, you have a structure that's been intermittently bearish or bullish over the last couple of months internally in Bitcoin. So this structure on the external has really been range bound since about mid-July and should be traded as such. What this means, look for reasons to get bullish at the lows, look for reasons to get bearish at the highs, sit on your hands in the middle, always expect to fake out mean reversion, not a breakout, continuation, and play the range until break. That's just some, words that I wanted to run by you guys as I think things are going to be pretty damn volatile. I kind of feel it. I kind of feel it in my bones. Things are getting ready to be pretty volatile again. Let's check back in on this trade. Let's see here. We're still alive. We're still riding it. I'm just letting her cook. I'll be able to pay better attention after the show. I'll be better. But you know what? I don't know. Maybe I should close it right now. This is a crazy stat. History suggests the U.S. stock market might be facing a dismal future return. So the S&P 500 Shiller PE ratio hit a 40x, is the highest since the 2000 dot-com bubble. In the past, the ratio above 30 was followed by a negative 10-year annualized return, a decade without gains. Can you imagine? Now, would you be able to survive if all of these financial markets had a reckoning? Would you be able to survive if the financial centipede of Nvidia and Oracle is exposed to be a shell and everything falls to the absolute ground, right? I want to know from you, like, how ready are you to deal with this? Because there is massive speculation at all-time highs. We've seen a lot of movement actually from average investors into risk assets as well, be it on the Wall Street side or, I consider Wall Street a risk asset in general. This is a scary, scary thought. You got to make sure that you have, one part of it is a focused and healthy love of yourself, love of your body, love of your family, right? And a connection to something that is more than you. I think I'm not trying to push to be, a Christian or anything like that. I have my personal beliefs. Everyone can have their own personal beliefs. That's fine. But something more to strive for outside of just numbers on a screen. I think it is important to have and to think about, right? In case some sort of massive bubble did pop and the Oracle, Nvidia financial centipede is found out. Oracle lose $100 million on Nvidia chips. Stock market erases $49 billion in Oracle stock in the blink of an eye. Welcome to the markets in AI. And this is on October 7th. Major decline here. The company reported that it lost $100 million from rentals of Nvidia chips in the most recent quarter. So there's a lot of things that are pulling at the outskirts of this debt-based system. And, there's a movement towards just going into hyperbole, tokenizing everything. You go to Home Depot, you pay with Home Depot, tokenized stocks, right? That is, in general, where I think the system would like to land. But, it's, if we don't get there, the baseline understanding for me, I find a lot of value in my faith. And, I choose Jesus Christ. That's not anything I'm trying to push on you guys. But having something more that really is a wealth level beyond money, I think is very, very important for you, because you can't take your bags with you. Now, Nvidia is taking up a $2 billion equity into Elon Musk's XAI. Elon Musk, in my opinion, I think it's between, we're seeing, this is the battle for the super app. And, we have NVIDIA, which is the chips, with, kind of like the base layer, but XAI, Elon Musk, and we also have Coinbase trying to build super apps as well. There's a lot of push from major players to create this super app here in the United States. The winner of this, the chart is going to look disgusting 20, 30, 50 years from now. The winner of this race to build the next super app for America is going to be absolutely disgusting. It's hard to bet against Elon in accomplishing this, but the political sphere and the spectrum does shift. And when that spectrum does shift back over to the left, he might not be the preferred enjoyer of those things. And we also have, government interest in companies like, what does CryptoFace call it? Planetar, right? Planetar is, it's like a government connected AI supercomputer system being built. But there's a lot of shifts happening. Like they're going to be surveilling us, but there's a build out for this tokenized market that's happening in the background too. Just a side note, Matt Gaetz is growing on me. Okay. Matt Gaetz, $7,000. Responded to Mariana Times here. There you go. He's kind of growing on me. Now, Link Toad, General H. Bari comes out with this. Looks like BlackRock and ARK Invest backed Securitize has upgraded their system to Chainlink via a GitHub update. Okay. So Link, this looks very similar to the past ties. I want to re-highlight. There is a lot of weird updates and connections, like the Federal Reserve of New York updating their GitHub with CCIP. Now we see this from BlackRock Securitize. It really makes you wonder what is about to come for the markets. We see the red carpet is basically being laid out by the powers that be to make this happen. The SEC chair, Paul Atkins, came out and revealed plans to launch rulemaking for innovation exemptions by late 2025 or early 2026. This boosts in digital asset and crypto development here in the United States. And man, can we just call it Skynet? Yes, we can just call it Skynet. Absolutely. Patton McCrotch. Yes, absolutely. Now, these are the kind of regulatory mechanics that are really messing with my 4-year cycle theory in general. I will say that. But for this reason, I'm really feeling like Link is here to stay, from it being the only project to be willing and able to speak at the White House Crypto Roundtable. It's been working with government agencies on building proof of reserves requirements, which literally require Chainlink to be used. And there's got to be a middle point between the internet of now and the internet to come. And that project is Chainlink. So that's how it's making it into my longer term hold. Chair Atkins is rolling this out, and this is going to open up things like NVIDIA, XAI, Tesla to all be tokenized and traded. And by God, I mean, we could be in a situation 10 or 20 years from now, or if you get into a Tesla automated driving vehicle, you're paying in Tesla stock, right? Or XAI stock tokenized. So I want to look at what these tokenized assets separated really are. And this is a great write-up. Arca highlighted this, Zeus, RWA, and this write-up on RWAs and ICMs. Very awesome. Make sure to give it a like and give it a repost here. People mix up RWAs and internet capital markets all the time. They're related, but they aren't the same thing. RWAs are about connecting physical assets to a digital ownership, right? Internet capital markets are about building financial systems that are native to the internet. They both shape the future of how money and value moves, but they operate on different levels. RWAs take what already exists and makes it usable in a digital economy. Property, credit, treasuries, gold, and even energy production, all of it can be represented digitally. This is a very key point, not as replicas, but as the same real assets, structured in a way that allows them to move, trade, and be owned online. It's a translation process, legal systems and financial frameworks rewritten in code so that trust can exist without paper. Messy work, but it's what makes the value portable here. Now, internet capital markets, they don't just digitize what we already have, they create new markets, lending, borrowing, and this is where the battle is. We're at the lending and interest side where the banks are like, wait a minute, you're taking away my literal existence here with this. So the banks and the DeFi sector at this weird clash moment. This is where liquidity, price discovery, capital formation happen on their own without banks or brokers, right? When everything is digital, the market itself becomes programmable. It's a very, very insane thing to think about that we're kind of on the edge of this actually happening. And, how banks react over the next 5 years to crypto, I think is going to matter greatly when it comes to, how far these smaller projects can go. These RWA tokenized asset attempts, they're positioned in the right season. Things are going in their favor in terms of the regulatory framework being opened up, the exemptions being opened up by the SEC chair, as I just showed, but they have to follow through and they have to strike at the right time. And banks got to allow it to happen, right? So this is a pretty important kind of crescendo that we're coming up to. Now, a huge shout out to Plume. I just wanted to give a highlight to how many different projects and items Plume actually represents in its RWA ecosystem. It's impressive to see a smaller project be pushing as hard as Plume has been. A huge shout out to Plume. I may want to check out RWA XYZ. Last time I looked at it, though, they were like over 120, 130 different types of assets represented. Very, very wide ecosystem being built by them. Very, very wide. And these kind of, I see, a lot of people in the chat are concerned about whatever project, and I want to see the ZEC. Let me know in the chat if there's a project you hold that you're concerned about. Let me know what this project could do for you down in the chat. Let me know what the ticker is that's kind of bothering you right now. We're in a season where, I think that we are currently looking at a couple of these options in the top 100, top 200 that are going to do insane X level moves. I do feel that way. And really the hardest thing about investing, being in crypto, is to do nothing for a very long period of time. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. And me, myself included, I come into timeframes like I have very low entry points on Link, and I'm still aggravated that I got $22, but having patience and long-term vision is really how you can kind of overcome some of those short-term concerns, because the reality is the world is moving on chain, finance is moving on chain. Swift went live with Sibos 2025. It closed now, but we can check out some of the news and events here. We go check it out. They are opening plenary. And you know what? I'm from Colorado. I'm going to plenary. Swift introduced their own blockchain ledger. Okay. It's a blockchain-based ledger. This is the framework being built out for a lot of major disruption in financial markets. Let's check out all right, we got Quant, we got Jasmine, we got Ondo. Let's check it out here. Solando, RWA Inc. What the hell's RWA Inc., Mark? What are you doing, Mark? I'll check it out maybe. I mean, Destra, okay, Camino, concerned y'all gonna miss it. Okay, all right, Fade and TradFi. I like that attitude. I'll go check, Camino and Marinade, the Solana staking mechanisms. They're on the doorstep of being approved by the SEC, right? So Solana ETFs with staking. It's a low cap gem. Nice. And Mark will probably understand, like, to get the insane gains, you have to hold a very small market cap project through the chaos, right? You have to hold that project through the chaos to get to the other side. But on the other side, I think we're in for some green pastures. Okay. Sergey, of course, from Chainlink was at Sibos. Of course he was. 2025. He gave a presentation on how the global set of on-chain standards for data compliance, privacy, interoperability, and existing systems connect. So obviously it's nice for me to see, and I did expect them to be at this Cybos event for Swift, but it is also impressive to see at the rate that Swift is moving with this blockchain technology. They're not being shy about it, which is kind of impressive. I mean, we're set up for some pretty big stuff. Like Swift is the largest money transmitter on the planet. This is the big one, right? This is the I don't even know the cream of the crop when it comes to finding a utility for a crypto project. If that crypto project gets plugged into Swift, it's over with. That's what I'm so excited about this for. It's hard to explain in so many words. And there's other highlights here. MasterCard felt comfortable enough to present alongside Ondo at Swift Cybos event. So there's a good note that the OUSG integration with MasterCard into their multi-token network happened last year. They might be cooking on some more. It seems that they're positioning, right? And she's going after it, right? She's going after it. So Ondo, I hold a little bit of Ondo. And this is a great highlight here. This Linea project, that booger slots, fantastic name, by the way. I've been looking at Linea very, very closely. I'm kind of feeling a little bit of FOMO about Linea, to be honest. Super new. What are you doing? Link super new. What does that mean? Is that a project? I want to talk about how exchanges or API are too slow to process cash, but as a result, hundreds of millions of transactions a day are overloading and crashing the exchange system. That's a crazy take, Cryptony. You should give me some info on that. That's absolutely wild. Now, some shots were fired from layer ones across the world. So Solana came out and put up this post of many. All right, now who's 50 Cent doesn't bother me too much. I'd say my favorite rapper, it's got to be Eazy-E. I like Eazy-E. Okay, let me know what rapper is the winner in your mind here. BNB shoots back Window Shopper. Huh. After all this, and I thought this is kind of crazy because Solana was really, really making some good money. And, that was all during the pump fund kind of run up to $290. And they do still, hit pretty hard in terms of revenue, Solana for sure. BNB just comes out of nowhere, Window Shopper, and then Avalanche pipes in. September metrics showed Avalanche strength. DEX volume was up 45% to 17 billion. TVL increased by 15%. Average daily active addresses up nearly 100%. Avalanche coming in here, putting its hat in the ring. And Avalanche is one. It would be easy to fade Avalanche if I didn't see so many different angles of blockchain application being done and developed for it. So, I'm bullish on Avalanche. I think it's actually pulling back hard because it ran so dang hard. It hit like $35 or something pretty recently. Yeah, $35 right there. Let's actually go check in on, are we still alive on the trade? Oh, hey. All right, we're still living. That's great. Something happened. Things are going great. Now, let's check this out. MetaMask launching an in-app perpetuals trading option with Hyperliquid. Polymarket integrations coming up as well. Absolutely crazy. This is people getting access to putting their entire bag on perpetuals with the click of a button. Very dangerous. Please, for the love of God, be careful out there. DZE, best rapper. I could roll with that. DZE, best rapper alive. I like that a lot. Very good call out. Good call out. Now, in terms of Hyperliquid in the battle for its spot, Sui is going after it. Sui has flipped Hyperliquid's daily DEX volume yesterday. Now let's go check out how they've panned out today, because this means the engine of Sui is still cooking and it shall not be forgotten. All right, here we go. I'm not going to extrapolate on that. Now, Sui, the volume 24-hour. Let's make sure we're looking. All right. So the volume down today. Let's see if Hyperliquid's decided to pick up the juice. No, volume pretty well down. Volume's down 38% on Hyperliquid. It was a kind of low key said. Can't remember who said this, but a good source, one of my peeps, and talking about massive amounts of money being washed out of whales' hands on Hyperliquid with this last market moves, right? So lots of volume, maybe a little bit of a calm has come back to the markets. Think Master Flex. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Now, the base token, we must discuss the potential of a base token. Okay. So base is exploring a launch that could drop 3.5 to 7 billion in early users, bigger than Arbitrum and Optimism combined. Jesse Pollock requesting community input isn't community building, it's airdrop qualification mapping. So Aerodrome, Morpho, Zora volume gets tracked. Base app has 35,000 users, 1 million on the wait list. Coinbase keeps sequential. This is crazy. Base app has 35,000 users and there's 1 million on the wait list. Jesus. Coinbase keeping sequencer control regardless. Farm now, ask questions later. There's some chaos brewing up. That smells like a blow off top end of the year chaos realm. And it's showing on Binance. Binance meme season coming to town. 100,000 on-chain traders brought their little booties onto Binance. They got into meme coins and now they are 70% in profit. There's one that made 10 million, 40 that made 1 million apiece, 900 that made 100K, 6,000 that made 10K, and then 21,000 that made 1,000. But you know what happens? You all know what's now, and I want your opinion about this. So we've seen a hot and heavy, massive explosion in Binance usage. Great gains. Is it going to stick though? Or is what's going to come a major crash? Let me know in the chat. 1 for crash, 2 for follow-up, up only Max Payne being collapsing to the upside. Is BNB about to send it and absolutely own the remainder of this bull market? Or is this just some short-term action? So 1, if you think it's going to crash. 2, if they're going to the moon here. Have you heard of, oh my God, Ouija Mac? No. Okay, VZ, hold on.
You are banned!
Jeez, I think this is the first time I've had to ban you. I think it's the first time. Yeah, that whole idea of base getting ready. We have MetaMask getting ready with their token release. There's a lot of competing factors that are coming in to this. We saw MetaMask kind of lining up on the on the Hyperliquid side. And I think that the end of the year with these multiple rate cuts, gold, silver, palladium, Bitcoin, all of these assets are just absolutely sending it right now. We're cutting interest rates into inflation. We have all the same macroeconomic factors playing into a collapse to the upside. This is a good question. Will Pepe and Turbo 5x from here this cycle? I'll check out those charts here in a minute. Let's roll through and make sure we don't miss anything on the BNB side. And this also got me skeptical of BNB. James Wynn coming out here. Everyone's migrating to BNB. Your life, your choice. Win. You got to ask questions. You got to ask questions how organic this was. I mean, because it was just ridiculous the amount of growth that happened in the blink of an eye. Like, look at this. 35,000 tokens were created on 4meme in the course of 24 hours. This surpassed Solana launchpads, all of them combined. A massive influx of meme creating. Oh my God. While the rest of the market bleeds down, Binance goes to extreme all-time highs, 35,000 tokens created, and then 2 BNB native protocols broke into the top 5 by 24-hour revenue on DeFi Llama, 4meme, and PancakeSwap. This is animal spirits back in the markets, right? Absolute cinema, chaos. Super Nerf says burn. I think the base flow will probably start up. I think the Solana flow is about to kick back up. The basic kind of layer 1 flow all moves seemingly together at the really big blow off top timeframes. So, I am feeling it kind of boiling up in terms of that time frame we're coming about. It's going to be the holidays within what do we got? How many? We got like 2 months. It's the 8th of October right now. So you have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, right? The rest of the year is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Who do we got to ban? Someone smells like fish in the chat. What? Who smells like fish in the chat? Unbelievable. Point him out. All right. Now, apparently, we're going to have Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow amid a government shutdown. The minutes just came out hinting at easing. It looks very, very weighted that we are going to have, easing of some sort. We're going to have the 25 base point cuts. The whole idea that Trump's rolling around about the $2,000 tariff payment to Americans, that can be discussed till the cows come home. Let's see here. Fed rate cuts. Let's see on Polymarket rate cuts and check out what this is looking like right now. Bam. All right. So how many Fed rate cuts in 2025? So we got 1 at 25 base points being a 3% likelihood, 2 at 50 base points, and 3. And this is started up a long time ago. So you know what? We have this full length. I wonder if there's any shorter term for kind of the, how many Fed rate cuts in 2026? This is ultimate chaos gambler because this is, I would say I would just be 0. I would take the initial counter of belief. I would take the counter of belief here. It's well discussed that there's going to be 2 base point cuts, but that's still a potential. Now, there's a lot of coins that people are holding. We were talking about taking a look at the charts on, and I'm pretty excited. I just saw a fellow from the Discover Crypto family here. Mr. Kelly, how you doing?
You know what? I am doing fantastically. Just to remind everybody what's going on right now in these markets. Everybody, that's not the screen. Here we go. Right here. Let's remove yours just for a second.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. This is what everybody's so worried about. And this is what we're seeing in the market. We're seeing it. Oh my God, it's scary. Oh my God, it's exciting. Oh my God, it's scary. Oh my God, it's over. It's over. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh no, it's absolutely mooning. We need to throw everything in. But what happens? Oh my God, it's going to new all-time highs. It's crashing. Guys, zoom out. This price action that we're seeing is going to rinse and repeat. It's going to chop you out on these downside actions. But we got a lot of charts that we could dive into today and talk about exactly what's going on because we are at a critical juncture on this. So I'll throw it back to you and we can get into it together.
Well, no, this is kind of perfect. We had some projects brought up. I think that I've seen quant brought up quite a bit. A lot of folks, they're holding quant from last cycle, right? And quant was very plugged into the ISO 2022 initiative or focus rather, right? It was trying to be plugged into banks. It has a layer of secrecy that banks can take advantage of. It seemed like there was some, chance for quant to do really well. From a chart perspective, I can literally, I can hear the anger in the voice of the people that bring up quant to look at here. What can you paint out of this picture? Please make some sense of this graph because it looks like pain to me. It just looks like pain.
Well, it looks like it hasn't found its footing. I mean, let's talk. I mean, this is very similar. And again, I'm not hating on, but we have to talk about the unwinding of certain narratives in the space. XRP, Quant is one of those as well. Chainlink, we're all in some ways, in slightly different ways, competing for a very similar narrative. And with Cybos last week, there's a lot of discussion of blockchains, a lot of discussion of integrating, onto the blockchain, what they're going to use. And Quant was one of those ones that was talked about for some time maybe last cycle, and replacing banks and sovereign getting on blockchain. But then also XRP was a major one. And so I think there's a little bit of unwinding of some of those narratives, but people forget just because a certain narrative that the retail market was holding on to doesn't mean that a project is dead, because they're not, like, for instance, Quant is not just doing that. It's an incredible blockchain. If you look at it just on a price action basis, this just looks like, massive ranges that it has not been able to break out of. The question is going to be, and I have not, you just kind of threw me under the bus there, because I have not looked at any of the recent narratives going on with Quant, but what I'm seeing here,
it's been pretty dead. I can just say it pretty easily. It's been pretty freaking dead, man. And there's people that are looking for hope,
Well, I mean, if we're looking at it on the 3-day, I don't see anything particularly bullish, unless on the 3-day, this is right here at the 50 line, meaning that it's fighting to get in the strength back in control. Money flow is a nice baby little bump here, little baby turtle here. But what we really want to see is a price action on this break out of this and clear this level here. On this breakout, it will likely fail and then make a move if it's going to remain bullish. But if we zoom in on this, let's look at the 4-hour. Is there anything in the near term ignoring that larger pattern? Well, some people would say this is a bull flag. Okay, well, tell me how a bull flag also has a big, giant head and shoulders in it that is suggesting this wants to take a swing to the downside here. So where do you look? Option F, do a fib there. And look at this. It's sitting right now on that shelf at the 382. So the next target down would be not only this range high right here, but also that's perfectly in the golden pocket, which would not be a small move to the downside. My caveat with this is, although this chart does look like it wants to swing down, it's feeling like the market's about to catch a lot of people off guard. So I'm looking at patterns on like this potential bearish reversal pattern. I'm taking it with a grain of salt and saying, if we do get a bit of a swing down, I don't think this is going to come down here. I think the market as a whole might fake some people out and then swing back to the upside. But that's going to be because the narrative in the market is stronger, not because the narrative of Quant is stronger.
Right. Absolutely. And, I took a little bit of a stance. Against Benjamin Cowan today. I'm not going to lie. Hard-sidedly disagreed.
He's a smart fellow. He's a smart fellow. We don't have to agree with everything everybody else says.
I know.
It's okay.
I know. So this looks like a formation of a head and shoulders to me on Bitcoin dominant. And the target out of this, I was looking at this earlier, comes down to that 50% target I have for Bitcoin to put the line in the sand, act like Gandalf, you shall not pass, and send it back up, right? That's what I feel in my heart of hearts.
You're on the weekly. Okay.
Am I crazy for betting against it? Because so far this week, I mean, it's made a slightly new kind of, momentary high, 59.3. Sending it back down, though, and we're starting to see a lot of juice coming to BNB. We have a lot of things on the horizon with the base ecosystem rollout, the likelihood of Solana staked ETFs being approved. So alts had a lot going for them systemically in the background while they're being suppressed in terms of price. You know what I mean? So what do you think, Kelly? Like, I want to get your opinion. We'll add yours to the stage here. Bam.
Well, yeah, we've been highlighting this when I was doing the BitLab morning shows regularly. The breakdown here was the start of the signal for alts to see some juice, but it was really the clearing of this, and it perfectly chopped right in here, bounced up. And I drew this before this happened. Basically played this out perfectly. So this, I think the biggest issue we have in the altcoin ecosystem is the same thing people are feeling a little bit in the Bitcoin ecosystem. That is the 4-year cycle. And so we can't ignore that the 4-year cycle has a very strong likelihood of happening, but there feels like there's a lot of reasons. I don't want to say to dismiss it, but to have an open mind about it playing out different this time. And the reason why I say that specifically for alts while we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart is it wasn't until, yes, we got an ETH ETF earlier this year, but it wasn't really until July of this year, the end of July, where we started getting positive legislation around things that opened up the doorway, or at least started to open the doorway for capital, big money capital, institutional capital, which is what's driving this entire crypto market so far. Retail, there's no new retail in. All of us that are here have been here for the majority of this cycle and many of us last cycle as well. So this is all just sort of cyclical, same money, just regurgitating. The thing that's driving Bitcoin is a massive amount of institutional flood of capital coming in that hasn't had the confidence to put it into crypto, that only just started in July, where it's like, okay, well, wait, stable coins are going to be the rails of everything in the future. Cool. What does that mean? Well, Ethereum is going to dominate that trend. Tron is very big in that trend. Solana is also in that trend in some regard, with a lot of corporate and institutional interest as well. Avalanche is starting to integrate with launching, and Avalanche is getting a bit of a pump right now, but Avalanche is starting to integrate with some real world asset tokenization in addition to gaming, in addition to government level integrations like we're seeing in California and other places. We're seeing Ondo integrate some of the biggest securities to global markets and US treasuries. So I think where we're at right now in the cycle is a lot of expectation because it hasn't happened yet, which makes the market ripe for, even though I'm bullish, a bit of washouts along the way, because people keep expecting this nuclear bomb size like of bullishness that's supporting this market is making people put far too much liquidity into the charts, which we continue to see here on these liquidation heat maps that just keep stacking up on both sides of the market, where you're seeing, you know, this cleared up a bit and now we got a lot more longs, we got a lot of shorts. So this is free money for the market to come in there and take away. So I do think alts are going to run, and BNB is a good example of that right now, the growth that it's had in the recent couple weeks, and the indication that it's likely going to continue pumping.
Yeah, and you know, it's like crypto is it's a migratory bird process, right? Like people currently in crypto, for the large part, it's $4 trillion sloshing to and from. Kelly, I want to ask you a pointed question. There's a lot of drop your tokens in the chat that you want Kelly to bring up live on the show. I've seen Pengu brought up a lot, Kelly, and you know, Solana's been a little bit sleepy, but there's a whole ecosystem that, you know, I kind of compiled in my mind through the day. People were bringing up good little picks and things that reminded me. Camino behind that staking mechanism of Solana. Marinade is also within the staking mechanism of Solana. But then Pengu is that huge meme coin. And, you know, and everyone was saying it was dead. It swooped all the way back up to its original highs. The NFTs, they have a lot of leverage in terms of loans out on them. But I mean, it's kind of a perfect design for chaos to the upside. A penguin going to blistering highs. I mean, it just sounds so aggravating that it's probably what's going to happen in my mind for some weird reason.
Well, you know, but to Luca's credit, you know, with Pengu, he's done something with that IP brand, that intellectual property brand, where it's not just like a token on the market that may pump, may not. They have major partnerships and integrations in the real world with their, you know, their penguin, with it, whatever the Pengu plushies,
it's like
or
a
whatever.
game. Yeah, well, I have these products, and
yeah, they were selling at Walmart, but then they
Right.
also have major players in terms of the corporate Wall Street type players that are involved also with Pengu.
These things.
So, yeah,
They
I would not count it out. I mean, in fact, let's look at the chart real quick. I mean, look at
I'll
this.
pull it up.
I mean, that's not that. I would not look at this as bearish. That looks like a pretty damn large. You got a bit of a bull flag there. You could consider this one massive bull flag here. I'm going to show you why I wouldn't. This target is, you know, I mean, this is a massive. I mean, that's that's another 500% gain, 600% gain from there. I'd be a little more conservative on that because you kind of have a bull flag there, kind of, you know, a bit of a bull flag there. But I would just be a little bit more realistic here and kind of draw this kind of like a falling channel. And watch this, you know, watch what the momentum is on the breakout here, especially when it comes to this high here at 4.6 cents. Once it clears that, it's going to kind of be determined, in my opinion, on what the narrative broadly of the sentiment in the market is. You know, there's a video that's going out tonight, 7 p.m. Everybody out here, go and watch it. Drop your comments down below on that video, because I'm giving a signal that a lot of people aren't watching, and it's going to be an overwhelming make it or break it signal for Bitcoin, and then exponential level for the altcoins if this signals flashes or not, and it's right on the cusp of flashing. So I don't want to say what it is. Go watch it at 7. It's about a 6 or 7 minute video. But this is this is generally looking bullish in my expectation of. I think we still have quite a ways up to go in the market.
Yeah. This is interesting. I wanted to I'm checking out John Percent's comment here in the live chat. Look at Bitcoin's monthly, 3-month, and yearly chart and see similar points where we were about pre-takeoff all the other times. We should maybe check into that on the fly, or
well, you know what came out. I know we were going to cover it. The FOMC meeting minutes.
Yes,
those came out, and it's they just said most participants judged it likely appropriate to ease further at signaling likely rate cuts again, which I think all of us were expecting later this month. I think the FOMC meeting's around the 28th. If I'm not, I could be wrong there, but towards the end of the month, and then another rate cut potentially in December. But this is still, I'm kind of confounded about the situation we're in, because even you and I are like, yeah, get these rate cuts. Cool. We're going to pump the markets and money printing. But then it's also like, we just saw the hole that we're trying to dig ourselves out of from what happened from all the COVID money printing. And it just seems like bills are getting passed, that there's going to be $3, $4, $5, $6 trillion printed in the next several years. And it just means explosion in prices more. It's going to just decimate everybody that's not invested. But those of us that are investing, everybody here, I hope you have some money in the markets and you're not still sitting on the fence, because I think we're about to see some really interesting times here in the next 3 years with money printing, with AI, displacement of jobs, the breaking of old models. It's going to be very interesting. But what you got here?
Well, it was brought up in kind of the news flow earlier that Powell is going to be speaking tomorrow.
Yep.
And it looks like that is indeed the case. So we have this Powell speech highlight Thursday on economic events, 8:30 a.m. We have initial jobless claims coming out, and we have 8:30 a.m. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell speaking. And continue. We have a lot of data dropping at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I am definitely going to be closing the trading position before that time comes, because that's probably going to look pretty ugly. So.
But you know what? You and I will probably be. If you want to come in just a touch earlier tomorrow, I don't know if you can, but we could probably at least, if it's not at 8:30, it'll be at 9. Oh, I can't. I have something in the morning tomorrow.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Yeah,
dang it. I could be in early. I can cover it live, and that's going to be
talk about in the Discord. Yeah.
That's going to be some crazy movement on the markets tomorrow morning. So, markets cannot fail. We have riots in the streets. The whole idea, I wanted to kind of back up to this. So we are looking at quant earlier, and it's based on, quant was trying to plug into the existing baking as in infrastructure. And it's weird to see some projects, with so much more actual partnerships, and then others that have been building towards this for years that didn't get that same love or treatment. You know what I mean? It is an aggravating thing to see. I think, one lesson from the last market cycle is that even ridiculous things rise with the tide. Ridiculous boats that were poorly made rise within the tide as it rises. I think they're going to have their moment, but yeah, it's just about being patient enough to get to that moment, right? That's really what it feels like. And we're in that kind of eye of the storm, it feels like, Kelly, where there's so much bullishness going on constantly, massive announcements. I mean, Swift rolling out its checking
I'm trying
it
to
out.
see if they have I'm trying to find an updated sort of partnership flow or anything, because I've kind of been out of touch with what they have going on there. I'm trying to find some big integrations, and I'm not seeing any. And there could be. I'm not saying there isn't.
One play that they have going for them is the EU CBDC. And I think someone also mentioned it in the chat. So they do have one option, or I mean, you'd hope they have more than one option, but I've seen this rolling around as a potential for quant to be able to get involved with. I'll pull you down and add this. So European Central Bank, 27 central banks released a update on phase one of digital euro platform. And there's mentions and kind of lore going on that quant is plugging into these European or UK based banks. It's just really hard to imagine that a private company is going to be allowed to benefit from a European central bank currency. That's where we're at that point where our government's going to let private players, private blockchains, take advantage of that middleman processing
Well,
fee.
if it's the EU as well, I would think that there'd be a major amount of surveillance that was baked into how they're doing it.
And they'd be willing to do so. Quant would be like that. Quant's a great option for that, honestly. So maybe that is the play. Maybe that is the play that's just not being paid attention to. It's just the price action's been so flat over the past 3 years. It's come to the point where, maybe we need some more hard-sided verification that that's going to come in, because I've dealt with this here in the American financial overhaul lore too, with XRP, right? Like XRP was going to take over everything, Kelly. They are listed on the FedNow website. They're literally like through a company called Volante. Ripple is literally listed on the FedNow website as being a part of the next version of how money is transferred. And it blows my mind that XRP's, I know the tokenomics are bad, but it's kind of maddening thinking about it not being the play after how much content after. It's so crazy. Like, look at this. We may as well show this. This is the FedNow website. Explore FedNow. You go into the Showcase Theater, and the main one that I, really found was intriguing in terms of crypto connections was Volante. I mean, obviously you have cool big ones like BNY Mellon, NASDAQ, and you have a lot, but this Volante with Volpay was where the juice was found. And they leverage Ripple, the technology of Ripple, to send transactions to and from, right? So this is where, and it was listed right here, like all it had to be was this. And so I'm on a FedNow future dollar map website. And then Ripple is listed right next to, Visa Direct, all these other things. It is kind of maddening to think that, the price action isn't going to be exponential, but it's kind of what we've found, right? And if that was the case, this is well put by Patton McCrotch. If it was the case, Chris Larson would quit dumping all that liquidity on the retail holders. And it might actually take off from that regard, but it's a weird time, Kelly. We're like coiling right under all-time highs, and people are wondering if it's the next big move. It's really the moment.
I mean, and this is the same time, remember, where we have Jerome Powell and, not only speaking tomorrow, which I think is just going to be, froth and volatility around nonsense. But I do think that there's going to be more cuts that come not only in the next meeting, but more likely than not in December as well. But also the expectation, as we're seeing global liquidity on the rise and gold just running away, that there is more to go in this market. I think the next major downside is going to be very scary because of the expectation of the 4-year cycle. But I think it's a tread with caution time right now. If you're not already positioned, if you're getting positioned, understand what your strategy is going into it, because there's going to be a lot of emotional moves that I think happen in this market in the next 3 months.
100%. I see you got this.
Well, don't go to that yet. I'm trying to add the thumbnail to the BitLab YouTube stream because I couldn't do it on here. So I'm talking to you while I'm also doing that at the same time.
Well, these are the times where, we're at the moment people are poking their project with a stick. They're wanting it to be the next big thing. They're wanting it to rise. A lot of these older projects, they've fallen slightly sick to inflationary pressure. There is that. And then there's other pressures happening internally, like Shiba Inu has a death of the ecosystem, has a death in movement, has a death in hype. Still sitting here at number 22. I actually think there's plenty of room to fall for Shiba Inu. I'm not going to be surprised if Chainlink continues to tick down the top 10 of crypto either. Hyperliquid, watching its growth and the amount of money that's made through transactional volume, boistering up companies like this, the revenue behind them is just unstoppable. I feel good about Chainlink because of that revenue absolutely skyrocketing. It looks like they're finally, that's the thing about Chainlink, is gotten the entire crypto ecosystem used to just a data oracle system that's just there for them. And, you know, a lot of them paid to a degree, but they're actually turning on the full-fledged amount of CCIP fees now. And we're seeing that revenue go 300x increase, right? So that kind of action is what I want to see in this time frame. Let's go check out Chainlink's chart, actually. Saying it's fallen down. I want to see. And where is this trade? We're still alive on the trade. Look at this. We're gonna make it, Kelly. We're gonna make it. Woo! Got it. We got a round of applause. Round of applause. We're still alive here. Now let's go check out Chainlink. I want to go check it out. Bam. Bam. Because I feel like Chainlink's graph is actually quite healthy.
Dude, Chainlink is going to pop so hard when it goes.
I mean, this is very, very similar, just swooping motion that we saw originally here, right? The series of higher lows, and then you get that parabolic run up. This formation is very, very similar to our current scenario. So just seeing that swoop beginning, I'm liking it. And I liken it to this, right? Well, that could have been smoother, but
well, also, dude, that early part of your chart. No, early, like, yeah, all the way there. See that first, no, yeah. So right there, you have a bit of a run up, a sell off, a little smaller run up, sell off, a larger run up. Now go over to where the price action of what we're seeing right now. That looks like a giant accumulation before the run up. Now look at this last,
and that's a W pattern too, huh?
Yeah, but now look at that. That looks,
oh
very
my God,
similar.
they have the same chart.
Launch, lift off.
Dude, that's sick. That's literally like, and you have to like go kind of look at the time frame in respect to where it was. That is absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is a nice setup for me. I'm cozy in it. I feel like it's undervalued, underappreciated. It's the underdog, and it's about to choose violence. That's what I feel like about Chainlink. You know, it is really how I feel about Chainlink.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just Chainlink, guys. You know, flip it back over to my chart real quick, because and I've highlighted this quite a few times, but this move that we saw back in 2018 with this sort of symmetrical triangle, a run up, a sell off, a run up, a sell off, but this also is a huge sell off because we had the world shut down. But the shape is the same: run up, sell off, base, set. If you look at the cycle where we're at right now, look at these price actions: run up, sell off, base. Are we going to get another little washout or not? I don't know, because this was a black swan back here. So it's not just Chainlink that's sitting like that. I think that there's just, this goes back to my comments earlier about the alts kind of being a delayed exuberance because of all the capital going into Bitcoin and then kind of starting in ETH, but then the legislation changing the narrative around alts and what it could mean, and starting to see, I mean, you see some of the major players like Charles Hoskinson, even the guys from Constellation DAG, you see not Brad Garlinghouse, but many of these other players, Sergey Nazarov, that are in the halls of Congress, in the halls with legislators, hammering out legislation that's going to actually empower and not just choke off the development of what's happening in the blockchain ecosystem and how to get it integrated into our systems. Because it's not just like crypto money is a money-making thing that you can expect. No, this is the changing of the plumbing system of global finance, trade, commerce, and culture. All of those things combined. And so moving all these Web 2 into Web 3, meaning your Amazons, your government websites, your trade, everything that's happening is moving on to blockchain, which is actually it's going to increase profit margins because it means the money has a much larger margin. Because right now, if you got $100 million, this is the most basic case. You look at Bitcoin changed the game because you can send $100 billion to yourself and cost you like $1, right? Where you can't do that on US dollar because it's going to cost you a transaction fee, has to go through Swift and wire houses and all these clearing houses. You have to pay these middlemen. It takes 2 weeks. Now it's like, and they also say, what do you need that for? Now with crypto, you're able to move these things at nearly the speed of light, and it's more efficient. You don't have to pay all these different trust arbiters out there. And it's changing the name of the game of commerce globally.
Yeah. We're having an interesting combo in the chat. Do I want to talk about this, Kelly? So, okay, extended cycles are based on what? No evidence of that so far. Want to discuss the concept? Is
How
it
about
probable?
this? I'll give the most basic thing. Do you realize, you might not even know this. I just did the math the other day. Do you all realize if you want to say the 4-year cycle, cool, it's the halving cycle, great. You have to at least also take the presidential election cycle that it happens to line up with the halving cycle. And also the fact that early on, there was a narrative created around the halving cycle because everybody attributed the sell-off a year after because of the halving cycle. Supply, you get the exuberance, supply shock, and then the sell-off because you have over speculation and hype in the market. But that was in 2013, back when people were getting 50 Bitcoin per block. Currently, people are getting 3.125. That's a 93% reduction. Again, 93% reduction in the inflation rate on Bitcoin. Kelly, Bitcoin doesn't have inflation. Well, first off, reverse your statement there, find some humility and realize that Bitcoin does have inflation, except it reduces by half every 4 years over time. Where do you think these miners are getting paid from? Inflation. They're getting a block reward for competing and winning the right to mine that block. Right now, the inflation rate is 3.125 Bitcoin per block. There's one block every 10 minutes, roughly. So the inflation rate on Bitcoin has reduced 93%. And you're telling me that the halving has to always 100% always happen in terms of the way the 4-year cycle's running? I don't believe it.
Yeah. And there's so many interesting comments. Keep your comments going about what you think, because this question matters for all of our bags, right? I want to go back up, and this is an interesting thought from Mickey V, saying that the market is delayed by about 3 months from tariffs, borders, the Fed, and the Middle East. Calling it easy, guys. And there's a lot to be said about, the pressure from the current administration on the Federal Reserve. There's also data of the longest, basic ranging at previous all-time highs ever in Bitcoin's history. There's Bitcoin dominance lasting longer than we've ever seen before, and then finally showing a little bit of a breakdown, which we've seen over the past month. Been okay. Hasn't been amazing, not over the moon for altcoins, but it's been okay. But that went longer than we've ever seen. Now, Kelly, the 4-year cycle, I'm really hard pressed to break away from a general upswing and downswing from election cycles, from all the things that you excellently put just recently a minute ago. But in terms of anything changing within the 4-year cycle, I feel like the downturn is going to be less for Bitcoin. Like, is there anything about the 4-year cycle that you see is going to be different now that we're dealing with the current setup?
Well, there's one thing I want to make clear. Me thinking, and I could be entirely wrong. This is why we have these conversations. Even some of us here in this office, Discover Crypto, we don't exactly align on every topic, but that's why we have these conversations. We all have to navigate our money and our portfolios the way we best see fit, and where we're okay with taking risks and okay with, don't want to take that risk. And 4-year cycle is not a narrative I would completely ignore, because although I don't think it's going to play out the same way, I do still think we're going to get a pretty decent pullback that's going to scare people and convince them that that's the 4-year cycle taking over again. And so I think, much like you said, and Ivan on tech said it as well, I don't think we're going to get the 70. I don't think we're going to get over 70% drawdown in the next 3 to 5 years, because we're getting an exponential increase in adoption from major institutional players. We're seeing not just our hope, we're seeing on chain a difference, a growth
Mhm.
of sophistication and the type of holders that are out there, the exponential move that we've seen in wallets that are accumulation wallets, meaning these are wallets that we know when Bitcoin goes in them, they hold it for multiple years or longer. They're not trading. And institutional players coming in, corporate treasuries, they're not trading these assets. They are stacking long term. So you're removing a great deal of supply from exchanges to trade and having retail have less of an impact on this hype and fear, swings in the market. And meanwhile, you also have big players that if they do see, you see stock market drop 20%, that's a buy signal for traditional asset players. So once the market drops 15, 20, 30% in crypto, I see a huge amount of bullish anchors in the space that are going to be defending levels in the charts because they're going to see that as a great opportunity. They're not going to be looking for an 85% pullback and then they get in. So while we are going to get a pullback, maybe even later this year or early next year, I would hesitate just to sell everything at what top you think it is going to be, and then try to buy something that's below a 65% or, above a 65% drawdown because you might get left holding the bag and the market moving against you.
Yeah. These are things to think about. Now, Kelly, if you want, you can go over all your stories. I can run the chat and ban anyone that needs to be banned. If you got some things you want to cover here.
Yeah, I got a
'cause
couple of things I want to cover, and I got some charts I want to run over with everybody. But big first question with Drew and I here, we're trying to change it up a little bit with what we're doing with the show flows here on Discover Crypto. We want to make sure you all get the best content throughout the day, and also do some group partnership streams like we're doing today, where Drew starts it. We join for a while, and then I take over. So he has a bit, we do it together, and then I have a bit, and then also have our evening content. Do you guys like this format? Let us know because we want to make sure you like it as well. But we just want to keep it going and give you everything that we can.
Because we care so much.
You are banned!
That's right, Zach Nasty. I care so much about you. I see you in the chat. All right, take the wheel. Kelly, take the wheel. Let's see what you
Jesus,
got.
take the wheel. All right, everybody. Well, we got some big stuff. We talked about the FOMC meeting minutes that came out earlier. What are these? This is when they're discussing at the FOMC meeting, like they did a couple weeks ago, where we got the rate cut. What was actually discussed? Not what was the result that they told us. What was discussed during the meeting? And basically, there was, the majority of them there were saying it's appropriate to continue doing some easing. If you want to actually see a bit more of what they talked about, you can come up here, type in FOMC meeting minutes, and you'll see that they agree. Policy. Ease the policy a bit more in 2025. This means it's more liquidity. This is bullish. But we also have some other people in here that also say majority emphasize upside risks for inflation outlook. But I feel like the governments are kind of generally giving us a tongue-in-cheek, we care about this, but at the same time, they don't care about it because they're still passing bills that are only going to result in more money printing. So I think this is not going to be the focus as much as they want to say that it is, because they want to make sure that these markets continue higher and that liquidity isn't so constrictive, because we're seeing a lot of conflicting reporting around the labor market. As we saw, it was pretty strong, and then all of a sudden they revised it down 1 million jobs. So I do think they're trying to make sure people have jobs regardless of if there's inflation. So this is going to be generally good for people that are investing. Those of you here in Bitcoin and crypto and even stock market, S&P 500, this is going to be positive for the forward-looking outlook on the market. Then, of course, we got to talk about Poly Market. I don't know if you covered this, Drew, but this came out right before you were. I think you were already live. But the world's largest crypto prediction platform, Poly Market, now lets users deposit Bitcoin directly. So this is nice that they're kind of broadening the different crypto rails that they're using there. I do think this is going to be bullish. In my opinion, if you want to go and bet your Bitcoin on a Poly Market bet, then I mean, I'm not going to make a comment there. I think no matter what Bitcoin you will.
Don't give them your Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
USDC, come on now.
Yeah, of course. But this is, just more headlines as well. And remember, Poly Market just had a major deal with New York Stock Exchange. ICE basically took a $2 billion position in Poly Market. So this really goes to the Wall Streetification of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, and crypto in general, is permeating through all financial halls of power that matter globally right now.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Oh, Byron Hardy, what's up?
Come on now. Thank you very much for the gifted memberships for Kelly's channel, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, shout out. Big love to you. And shout out to everybody here. By the way, when you guys are here, I'm curious, where is everybody tuned in from? Let me know what city and state or what city and country you are tuned in from. Let's see if we have any groups of people in areas we didn't even know you were there. I'd love to see where everybody's tuned in from, because sometimes you don't even realize. I've been in this market for 10 years, and back then I could not even connect with anybody that talked about Bitcoin and crypto and all these things, because there was nobody else doing it anywhere near me until we started seeing these little communities pop up across the internet. And then it's like, oh, wait, you live down the street from me. So it's always good to know where other brothers and sisters are at. So
while we're on the location thing, I'm in Georgia. I'm looking for heavy metal artists. Okay. I'm putting the band back together. So if you're out there playing metal, let me know. I'm getting back. But back to you, Kelly.
Yeah, guys, BNB has been on a tear. Holy moly. And check this out. If you haven't heard of it yet, BNB season, CZ has been I just got off of space on the Mario Nafal team channel, where we were talking about this major explosion in the BNB price. It went up to, I think, over $1,300. And we're also seeing on Deck Screener, all the top coins were basically Binance Smart Chain coins, BNB coins, which is fantastic. And not only that, it's up nearly 50% in the last 30 days, pushing its year-to-date gains to a massive 86%. For comparison, the next major, which is ETH, hasn't even done half of that. So while some people might say, I'm going to get out of ETH, I'm going to get out of Solana, I'm going to go get into BNB. In this way, I want you to know I am not hating on BNB, but I want you to realize, I don't want to say you've missed this boat, but this doesn't mean these other chains are dead. In a lot of ways, what we've seen in different parts of the market cycle is when a niche really heats up. In this case, BNB is heating up, and we're seeing massive gains there. One, it's showing us that there's a huge amount of liquidity in the space that maybe, I covered this about 2 weeks ago on the Discover Crypto 4 p.m. streams, that there was over $308 billion in stablecoins that were basically a huge portion of that was sitting basically in dry powder, meaning it was sitting as a stablecoin. It wasn't, sitting in a wallet ready to be deployed, aka dry powder. And so when you now see this massive explosion in BNB, this doesn't make me fret, doesn't make me sad that ETH isn't doing it or Solana's not doing it or the base ecosystem. Why aren't they running? I say, oh, okay, they're taking their turn. I'm going to find the assets in these other chains. If I'm not in BNB, I'm going to find assets in these other chains that might be able to follow the same paths because they're hot. I see you dipping your finger up there. What you got there?
Well, I mean, it's just spot on. It's people are impatient when they see one thing pumping, they'll dump a bag that hasn't pumped yet to go chase the pump. Then the pullback on what just pumped happens. They, get out of it because they feel like they made a mistake, and they just continue to cut their gains down. In that regard, it's something that will take the interest away from trading. And I think what you're saying there is very, very important, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls. I'll get copyright strike. I'd play the song, but I'd play the song right now if I could.
Yeah, and I do think that BNB is going to have a little bit more of a run because we saw this happen this afternoon as well. CZ also further launched a $1 billion fund with this family office, which is basically a smaller investment brokerage, right? $1 billion to back long-term builders on BNB chain. So just continuing that positive PR campaign that he is doing for Binance and Aster and basically what's happening within the BNB ecosystem. But again, we're seeing some major things out there in the rest of the market. Remember where we're at on this others chart. This is everything outside the top 10. We've been here before where it was over only to slingshot way to the upside. In this case, we are very similar spot right now. So let's look at a couple of these before we wrap this one out because we got Ethereum. Look, we forget because ETH didn't just explode in the last couple of days. This is a weekly chart. You've heard it before. I'll say it again. When in doubt, zoom out. You are bearish when we have a macro bull flag going on right now. Look at this. macro bull flag here where target that is going to just melt the face off of Jimmy Pants here up to $9,000. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I don't know if we'll only hit 6. But the point here is this is showing a momentous setup that is more likely to have a strong continuation to the upside. That's what I'm focused on here. So that's a weekly. Let's get down to the 4-hour and see what it looks like. Okay, well, we pushed up. Oh my God, we broke out of a multi-year trend line, and it's having some testing of the strength back down before it moves, looking like a absolute Wyckoff accumulation, basically a spring here coming up, consolidation before the next move up and slingshot higher. I'm seeing higher from here. Even if we get another small washout down, yes, this would be small from 4,500 down into the $4,200 range. It would not be over. But what we're seeing right now is the shakeout of the hope and fear in the market, because we see this in the liquidity. People are still far too exuberant about what's happening. They get far too hyped about either direction. And then you come over here and look at the ETH to Bitcoin pairing and realize it's just kind of just been hovering. It's just been waiting to take its turn. Now, when we get on some other coins that we've been talking about on this channel for quite some time, Aerodrome, in my opinion, is in a pretty good position right now, kind of at this intermediary point where you could get another bit of a wash down, which I think would be an astronomically good opportunity, because we're kind of hovering right on that trend line as we speak. And if we look at Morpho, the reason why I say that, look at Morpho. Morpho is super bullish looking midterm, long-term, but you had a very similar structure on Morpho right here where it kind of had this rising channel, just like this. It did break down, came back, rejected, very similar to what we're seeing right here. Could this break down a bit here? I don't know. But I'm feeling like there's enough bullishness in the market that we'll likely see another bit of a rip people's faces off of fear before we make a move. If this is able to hold here, great. I'm already stacked. If it continues up, finds some support and works its way up, great. We've already been stacking, right? And then the other one, AV&T, a lot of people asking about this because Yeezy Labs, also behind the investment on Aster, one of the investors. But Avantis also has Peter Thiel involved, which I'm not a huge fan of, but big money player aligned with big money people. Also Coinbase Ventures investing in this, also Yeezy Labs. And you see this. I posted this in the Discord earlier, but look at this. On the 1-hour chart, the RSI has never been lower, meaning it's never been this oversold when it came down on this dip. The money flow, this is basically at all-time lows for money flow as well, meaning we are at a level with the price action also breaking out of what should be a bullish formation. Kelly, falling wedges break bullish. But what have I been telling you all on this channel and on the BitLab channel for the last 3 years? This market is so primed with where it's going in a bullish posture that although this pattern tends to break bullish, what we're seeing more often than not is it comes down and traps people down, comes up in, and then you make the move like that. And the fact that we just did that and hit the lowest RSI reading we've ever seen, and this is coming right into a level that we've already had highlighted here on the chart, bottom side of this level of support right in here. We saw what Aster did. The question is Avantis also going to take a turn? I don't know. I took a swing long position in this about a week ago or so. I am below my entry, and so I'm not recommending any of you get this, but if you were to get in, you'd be in a better position than I was. You have to make that determination yourself. Eigenlayer also. We talked about this about 2 weeks ago. Am I on the wrong chart here? There we go. Let me go over here. I got too many different windows. Where is Eigenlayer?
It's been looking pretty juicy lately. And drop your comments on the project that's, the most bullish in your portfolio. That's nice.
Look at that. They just had some major partnership developments as well. And what did I just say about the fake outs? This is a bullish pattern. Rising level of support, flat level of resistance. These tend to break up this way. Okay. What did it do? It did go up, trapped people long that were too exuberant, and then it washed people out by failing this pattern. But nope, that's a trick, came right back. So we're seeing the fake outs in real time here. Trap up, trap down, back to equilibrium, and then the move happens. So even if this were to come back and test this line, that would be a higher low. You'd also be confirming this trend line. But as it stands right now, the RSI, look at this, right at the 50 line, right there. Money flow is trying to suck it down, and it's holding as it stands at the moment. but this is one of those assets I'd be keeping my eyes on. Avalanche making some moves today. Look at that nice little happy candle, nice little happy candle right there. But where did it go? Only right up to where these previous range lows were. You see this? It's funny how you don't know how high it's going to bounce. And then you look left on the chart and you're like, oh, it gave me a roadmap right there. So the question is going to be on any pullback here on a smaller time frame, on any pullback, can this maintain? I would say probably above like about right here, because this would also maintain a higher low. See, if this were to come down right in this region, this would just be testing that neckline, be a higher low, and then make its way back to the upside. But I'm very excited about what we got going on in this market right now, Drew. I mean, we're getting the liquidity conditions are suggesting more liquidity is coming in.
Well, the sentiment is down. Look at the sentiment. It's horrible. Look at their sentiment. While they're all-time highs. These people, where's this? And drop me your comments down. I love all of these comments. I leave all the angry ones. I love all the comments. There's this Martin Brown 295. This freaking market is so rigged against everybody. What a bunch of bull. There's a lot of blue balls feelings out there. There's a lot of impatience out there. If, you know, and I want to hear from you guys to hear where your head's at so we can address these live on the show. Yeah. You know, it's all over the place. Like the fear and greed is at like 60, 50. You know, I feel like we got higher just from that.
Well, I'm curious with everybody watching live right now. We're live across YouTube, on Discover, on Blockchain Basement, on BitLab Academy, on MyX, on YourX, we're everywhere right now. So we got people tuned in on all these channels. We got 4,339 people watching. Shout out to each and every one of you. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. But most importantly, I'm curious, I want everybody to drop one coin in the chat right now. Every single one of you. So I should see 4,343 people right now drop in. What's one coin you wish that we talked about more? Or maybe we don't at all. Put it on our radar. Make us realize we're not giving you what you want. Maybe we'll tell you why that coin sucks. Or maybe you'll put it on our radar and we end up making millions.
There's all kinds of good ones. Yeah. There's all kinds of good. And one that we forgot to look at, Kelly, Camino, I've looked at it. I already felt good about it from the structural. Can you, before I know you know, Camino? We're giving a little bit extra here, but would you mind taking your gander at Camino to see what you see in it? Because all I see is the structural application of Solana ETFs getting approved for staking and then chaos following for the mechanisms that cause staking on Solana. So what is your opinion of this project?
Well, here's the Camino chart. This is it. We're going to do a lot of excessive TA on here. What we see is, no, I'm just joking. This is a weekly chart. I'm totally razzing you. Let's get it down to like the 4 hour. So we actually have some, so this looks like the excitement, initial speculative pump, a sell-off, and then the rise back up. I mean, so in this case, this also, if I had to guess, this tracks with the recent hype boom that we had, the sell-off, and then coming back up. And this is what we're talking about, right, Camino?
I think that it might be a different one because the one I have in mind is KMNO. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Well, that must have been just that exchange history then, probably. That makes sense.
Is there an older one? I bet there is. Not on. Let me look on. Here we go. Let's go here.
Right here on.
There we go. There we go. Coinbase always has the youngest charts because they.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So I mean, this looks like it's kind of what I like to look for is a general shape. What do I mean by that? Come over here to the lines and go on the line chart and notice that what we're seeing here is the close of every candle. And what we're noticing here is it's kind of melting to the downside. And then the bull's taking over here. So that's the kind of general shape I'm seeing. Now, when we're looking at this with candles themselves, let's go to Heikinashi to see where the sort of the volume, where the volume per candle is also giving you a better indication of what's taking charge here. And in this case, nice bullish impulse up, larger bullish impulse up, a washout down, but this is a higher low. So I love that. And this is now, higher low, higher low, higher low. But we do have a lower high here. Again, the market from middle of September to where we're at now, the market was pumping and now we're getting a little weakness in the market. It makes sense. I wouldn't say that this is a lower high. It has to break down from here. I'm thinking about this in the context of the broader market, but let's get to a little bit smaller time frame and see if we actually have a bit more A bit, yeah. Okay, so what I'm seeing here immediately, I'm looking at the lows on the RSI. So we had a low there, option V. We had another low here, and then another one here, and another one right here. So now I'm going to look up at the price action and see this was a setup before this move up. This was kind of a front running that it was getting a little too oversold, and then it washed out a bit further, but we finally formed a bullish formation with the W pattern here. See that?
Yeah.
W.
Yep.
And this also marked where the price action moved to the upside. So on this case, I'm a little hesitant to be bullish in the near term on this, because if you're just looking at these price actions right here, this is a bit of a rising broadening wedge. This might get a bit more of a pump, but this tells me we may have another bit of a kind of a swing down before it launches up. But there's not really a lot of history on this. I think this is going to go where the narrative goes. And if the market, for instance, if Bitcoin was $135,000 tomorrow and ETH was 5,200, I don't see this dropping. I see this bouncing here and moving up. So some of these smaller cap coins, regardless of the pattern, if the market shift into the bulls in the market generally shift in a much bullish posture, you might disregard some bullish setups on those smaller cap coins.
Yeah. And some of the muting, I think, you know, when you do your charting, you got to look at this. Token inflation is part of the deal here. But it is number 196 in terms of size of market cap, $229 million. So I look at it as a high risk, high reward type scenario. You know what I mean? Still, but I think staking on Solana will come.
Let's do Plume. Let's do Plume to close this one out.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. I was kind of afraid to ask you. I didn't know how much time you have, but let's check it out.
Well, we got time for the family because this is the Discover family, baby. The Blockchain Basement family, the BitLab family. We are doing this together. So let's see what the hell lines I have drawn on this chart, because we were kind of exploring some different possibilities here. Let's go to the regular candles here. Are we on? Okay, cool. Yeah, so we had a bit of a falling wedge-ish, kind of a falling channel, but it does pinch down a bit. Yeah, just like that. So boom, boom, boom. It's interesting. Look right where it went to, which also happens to be where this previous range high was. And it sucked right back down. But Plume just got I forget what it's called, not a brokerage license, a custodian's license here in the US. The SEC approved them, which gave them that big pump the other day. And we are seeing a bit of a sell-off from that.
I think we're waiting for like final verification of that, but that was the news and kind of the hype that caused that candle you're highlighting. Absolutely.
Yeah. But look, this is what I look for anybody. Again, if you're not familiar with me, welcome to the Thunderdome. What I look for is the price action, right? But everybody looks at that. Don't look at the price. The price is irrelevant. You want to look at what the formation of the patterns are. The price just gives you a data point. And then from this, you look down to whatever combination of data signals you use. I keep it basic for the streams. I use a lot different stuff when I'm trading myself, but it's all rooted in the RSI and the money flow. What's the relative strength and what is the money saying about the situation? So in this case, negative money flow here. And yet, the RSI, yes, it sold off, but I see the RSI bouncing here right about this 50 line in that 50 line region, meaning although this sold off dramatically, it stayed in the strength territory here with the RSI being above 50. Now, does that mean it's going to stay there? No, it can, it may not. But as this stands right now, it's trying to maintain a bullish posture. If this comes down and the RSI loses this, then I'm expecting this to take a bit further of a leg to the downside. What that looks like, I'm not sure, because this market just feels so contentious between the bullish and the bearish narrative.
Yeah.
I just be patient here. I expect Plume to do very well throughout the remainder of this cycle, though.
Love it. Well, let's get them wrapped up. Kelly, excellent show. I'll hand it to you to finish it off, and I'll kind of run the back end. But everyone in the chat, drop your comments. Let us know your projects you need to look at. Markets are getting feisty. I'll send it to you, Kel.
Oh, absolutely. I do just want to remind everybody, make sure you're looking long-term. Make sure you're doing the smartest things with how you're navigating, because a 15, 20, 30% difference now and the moves you're making could be a multi-million-dollar difference down the line. So that's one of the reasons why we partner with Bitcoin IRA. Make sure, excuse me, make sure that you head over to bitcoinira.com, give them, check out, you could trade up to 80 different crypto altcoins there. And if you're rotating your altcoins into Bitcoin long-term holdings, you can do that and also not take the major, short-term holder gains, tax hits that you'd be doing. Give them a call. They'll get you all set up. I think they have some deals for our users as well. I also have a Spaces I'm doing tomorrow with a couple other major players in the ecosystem. I also have Chris Klein, one of the founders of Bitcoin IRA. It's going to give us some deeper alpha on what's going on in the big money aspect of this market as well. But you can give them a call at 1-877-936-7175. But just keep your head about you guys, because these markets are getting very exciting. When we come back over here to the total 3 chart, we're really fighting to get this into that next leg. What is that next leg I'm talking about? That next leg is that part of the parabola right here. Sometimes the screens are too small to where you really get that melt to the upside. Essentially, like right in here, when this really starts melting to the upside. When you look at the others chart, that's been consolidating into the same zone, Although this is much higher, I do still think we've got quite a ways up to go in this market, especially with all the stablecoin and smart contract and RWA integrations that we're seeing, with the massive growth in the long-term holders, with the massive growth in capital treasuries coming into corporate treasuries coming into crypto. That's the word I'm looking for. And then also the base ecosystem, guys, what the base ecosystem is doing with Brian Armstrong, being on Capitol Hill on a daily basis, talking about positive legislation, what they're doing with Arrow, what they're doing, their ties also with Morpho, what they're doing, potentially with Avantis, which is also part of the base ecosystem. Keep your eyes on what has been working throughout the other parts of the crypto ecosystem and where players are actually set up to really have big impact, not only with corporate money that's involved, but also with DC. I think that's going to be a good front runner for what the roadmap is looking forward in this market.
Base tick. Love and appreciate y'all. And we'll see y'all next.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the